Once upon a time, there lived two young men who were the best of friends. Their names were Jide and Toby. Jide was known for his sharp mind and ambition, while Toby was known for his kindness and skillful hands. They grew up together, sharing the same dreams, hopes, and laughter as they helped their families on the farm and discussed their future under the shade of the village's ancient Iroko tree. As they grew older, they both began to yearn for something more. The village was small, and the opportunities were few. They talked late into the night about the idea of leaving the village in search of greener pastures, places where they could make something of themselves, places where their dreams could become reality. One evening, as the sun set and the stars began to twinkle in the sky, Jide and Toby made a pact. They would go their separate ways in search of fortune and success, each following his own path. I will go south of the village beyond the mountains. I will settle there and see what life has to offer, Toby said. Then I would go north through the desert land and settle in the next town there, Jide replied. But, unfailingly, we would meet again in exactly 5 years at this same Iroko tree. Let's see what we could have achieved by then, Jide added confidently. And no matter what happens, we will always be friends, Toby chipped in with a warm smile. With that, they said their goodbyes, promising to reunite in 5 years' time. Jide set off to the bustling town to the north, with big dreams of making it in politics. He was clever with words and quick on his feet, so he believed he could rise quickly through the ranks. And he was right. Over the years, Jide made all the right connections, using his charm and wit to climb the political ladder. By the time 5 years had passed, he had become a wealthy and influential politician, living in a grand mansion and surrounded by luxury. His name was known far and wide, and he moved in the highest circle of society. Toby, on the other hand, had taken a different path. He had settled in a quiet village and apprenticed himself to an old carpenter, learning the trade of woodworking. Though the work was hard and required great patience, Toby found joy in shaping wood with his hands and creating things of beauty and function. Over time, he became a skilled carpenter, respected for his craftsmanship. But despite his talent, his life was modest, and he lived simply in a small home, content with his work. Finally, the day arrived, the day they had promised to meet again under the old Iroko tree. Jide arrived first, dressed in fine clothes, with a gold watch on his wrist. He looked around, noticing the same old tree and the same quiet village. But everything now seemed small and insignificant to him, compared to the life of luxury he had grown accustomed to. Soon, Toby arrived, walking up the path with a warm smile on his face. He wore simple clothes, his hands rough from years of woodworking, but his heart was full of joy to see his old friend. "Jide, my brother," he called, extending his hand. Jide shook his hand, but his smile was tight. He glanced at Toby's worn clothes and calloused hands. "Ah, Toby, it's been a long time. How have you been?" "I've been well," Toby replied. "I can see you've done quite well for yourself." He pointed at the carriage and a bodyguard behind him. "Did you come in this expensive carriage? Wow, I am so proud of you, my friend." Jide chuckled, his chest swelling with pride. Oh yes, I've become a politician, a man of influence. I live in the city now, in a mansion. It's a life of comfort. But what have you been doing all these years? He asked. I became a carpenter. I learned the craft from a nice old mentor in the quiet village I live in, and I own a workshop now, Toby answered with his eyes gleaming. Jide chuckled a bit. After all these years, you became a carpenter. I thought you were more ambitious than that, he muttered under his breath. Feeling the need to show off his success, Jide decided to invite Toby to his grand mansion. You should come back with me to my mansion. I'd like to host you. Toby nodded politely. I'd love to visit, but not today. I have unfinished work to deliver tomorrow, and I haven't packed any item for a journey. I will send you a carriage tomorrow then. I can't wait to show you my world, Jide said boastfully as they parted ways. The next day, Toby rounded up his work, and by midday, a carriage was in front of his humble home to convey him to his friend's house. He picked his already packed bag, and they departed. When Toby arrived, he was greeted by the sight of a massive house with tall pillars, marble floors, and gold-trimmed furniture. Everything sparkled, and servants moved about silently, tending to Jide's every need. Jide gave Toby a tour of the house, pointing out his expensive paintings, rare sculptures, and luxury furnishings. Toby admired the craftsmanship of the furniture, noting the intricate designs and fine materials. But as they walked, Toby's sharp eyes noticed something concerning. One of the large wooden chairs in the living room, an elaborately carved piece, had a serious crack along one of its legs. Toby's experience as a carpenter told him that the chair was in danger of collapsing, and worse, if someone were to sit in it, it could cause a terrible accident, especially since the chair was near a high glass window. Jide, this chair, Toby said, his voice calm but firm. It's damaged. It's not safe to sit in. The leg could break at any moment. Jide waved his hand dismissively. Nonsense, Toby. This is an expensive piece, imported from overseas. It cost me a fortune. The best craftsman in the world made it. It's perfectly fine. But Toby insisted. Trust me, Jide, I've worked with wood for a long time. This chair is dangerous. Let me fix it for you. Jide rolled his eyes, still not taking his friend seriously. You are a carpenter, Toby. I'm a politician. Let's not confuse the two. Just because you work with wood doesn't mean you understand furniture like this. Despite his friend's reluctance, Toby decided to act. While Jide continued showing off his mansion, Toby quietly examined the chair more closely. He found that the damage was even worse than he thought. The wood was weak, and it wouldn't hold for much longer. Jide came to where he stooped and whisked him away to continue their tour of his magnificent mansion. Later that evening, Jide had a meeting with some council members in his house, and they assembled in his living room for it. Toby was restless as his mind kept recalling the dangerous state of the chair in the living room. He came out of the bedroom where he was and headed towards the living room, hoping to stop anyone from sitting on the faulty chair. The meeting commenced, and as Jide was preparing to sit in the very chair Toby had complained about, there was a loud crack as the leg of the chair gave way. Jide stumbled, nearly falling through the large glass window behind him. Fortunately, Toby was nearby and caught him just in time. Jide, shaking and realizing how close he had come to serious injury, stared at the broken chair in disbelief. It was then that he understood how blind he had been. His expensive mansion, his wealth, and his status had made him arrogant. He had looked down on his old friend simply because Toby had chosen a humble profession. But in the end, it was Toby's skills that had saved him from disaster. Jide turned to Toby, his voice full of gratitude. "Thank you so much, my friend. You just saved my life. I shouldn't have dismissed you when you told me this chair was broken. I had looked down on you and I'm sorry. I thought that because I had money and power, I was better than you." Toby smiled kindly. "There's no need for apologies, Jide. We all have different paths in life, but every skill, every job has its value. Whether we're building with our hands or leading with our words, we all contribute something important." Some of the council members in the meeting were amazed by Jide's sincerity and knowledge as well. They all promised to give him contracts to make them strong, reliable furniture for their homes. From that day forward, Jide's heart changed. He no longer judged people by their wealth or status. He understood that true success is not measured by riches or titles, but by the lives we touch and the way we use our gifts. And so, Jide and Toby's friendship continued, stronger than ever, built not on wealth or status, but on mutual respect and the understanding that all paths, no matter how different, are worthy of honor. This is the end of my story.